While we as citizens place much faith in the legal system, sometimes the criminals are able to exploit loopholes in the system and get away with major crimes. Make sure to keep watching to find out how a woman manipulated the detectives and managed to get away with murder. On the morning of March 19, 2015, multiple Orlando police units responded to 911 calls from a neighborhood in Pine Hills and found 22-year-old Joshua Bell hanging over the railing of his balcony with fatal gunshot wounds to his lower abdomen. He was taken to the local hospital where he died several hours later. Eyewitnesses reported that shortly after the sound of the gunshots, they saw two men and a woman carrying an infant running down the stairs and leaving in an Impala. When this woman, Yvonne Gary, is being read her Miranda rights before the interrogation, her first response is to ask whether she's going to jail. The detective reassures her that she's just being questioned, but Gary still asks if she would get an attorney. The officer evades the question in the hopes that she would waive her rights and says that she can stop at any point she wants. And then, after some small talk to establish a baseline, begins a very confusing interrogation where Gary introduces small inconsistencies in her story when questioned repeatedly. Earlier that day, LaConda Nero called her aunt, Yvonne Gary, to get some tires from her home and that she shared with her boyfriend, Joshua Bell. They also had an infant daughter, whom Gary was supposed to bring to her niece, LaQuanda. Gary showed up to their house with her son, Rokan. LaQuanda's 22-year-old brother, Courtney Nero, was already present there, according to Gary. However, while Rokan was apparently taking the tires to the car and Yvonne was getting the baby, Courtney and Joshua got into an argument that ended with gunshots. Initially, Gary insists that she was already downstairs with her son and the baby when the gun went off, just like anyone else would.
Yes, I went upstairs and I got the baby because she was in there, and I went and got the baby, and I was holding the baby and I came down.
She ducked her head out of fright, and when Courtney came downstairs and got in the car, she wanted to drive away as quickly as possible to avoid any danger. Even after repeated questioning, she claims that she didn't see what had happened and that she dropped Courtney off along with the tires so that his mother could pick him up. She then visited her friend and had no idea about what had happened until she got the call about Joshua's death. The officer then asked if she was in a rush because of hearing the gunshot, as witnesses said she was carrying the baby in just a diaper. He had been hoping that she would contradict her story, but Gary calmly said that she wasn't in a rush at all.
Were you in a kind of a rush? Because, information has come to us that, child just had on a diaper, it was a kind of a big rush to get out of there.
No.
No?
In a similar tactic, the detectives kept asking her questions repeatedly so that she might fumble in the details and also asking about what she thought had happened. The trick works to some extent as the timeline in Yvonne's story is all over the place, like who was in the car at which point of time. At one point, the detective asks her what her son and her talked about, and she says that her son wanted Nero to be a man and admit it if he did kill Bell. After mentioning the eyewitnesses present there, the detectives circle around to the chronology of events once again, and this is when Yvonne decides to stop the interview. She says she would get the lawyer to tie things up, as she was fed up of answering the same questions over and over again. Stay tuned till the end to find out what twists and turns this case goes through. She did end up calling the police out of her own accord on the next day and confessed that both she and her son were at Nero's apartment during the incident. Courtney and Josh were arguing on the porch, and while she didn't actually see Courtney fire the gun, she did hear Bell shouting that he had shot him. She grabbed the baby and ran out of there in panic and even said in a fit of tears that she was scared of her nephew targeting her home after this. 10 days after the incident, Nero was charged with second-degree murder and arrested without bail. Almost a year later, the court asked for two eyewitnesses while also holding Yvonne as the suspect instead of Courtney Nero. Now, this absolutely changed things, and Gary, who had volunteered information framing her nephew as the murderer, now refused to testify. She claimed that she was under the influence of alcohol and other things both the times she gave her statement. She even said that she didn't remember a single thing about what had happened on 19th March, not even why they were at the house. Ultimately, she never showed up in court, citing a variety of health reasons, and the charges were dropped due to witness issues. Courtney Nero, who was previously facing life in prison for murder, was free, and so was Yvonne Gary. That's all for this video, where the suspects managed to exploit the justice system for their selfish interests, and the murderers of Joshua Bell never got the punishment they deserved.